All right, so this is probably the most unique interview that I've done, especially after a race. But everybody who has been at Deming Speedway probably recognizes, or probably doesn't, because you're not in a race suit and you're not at your pit stall next to your car. So this is the driver of the 12J in the 600 restricted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Restricted. You're looking at me like you're amazed I remembered that.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So she is here, and we have an interview that we want to do, and we're going to talk about a fairly serious subject. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about your car and kind of the season. So you drive the 12J, right? The J for Jet. That's kind of your racing nickname, which if you saw our first interview, thought it was one of the coolest racing nicknames on the planet. So we're going to talk a little bit about your driving. So what do you think your biggest strength is as a driver? I don't know if I asked you this the last time.
Honestly, that's a really hard question to answer. I think it's paying attention to the start in front of me, because at first I couldn't get in between cars on the start and find the strength to do that, and now I do have the strength to do that, so it feels like it's a big advantage. And
Okay.
I know some of the weaknesses of all of the other drivers, but
Ooh, like that. Strategy. Love it, especially with what we just saw. So what is your favorite racing moment up to this point?
probably would be at Sunset Speedway. There wasn't very many cars, because there's not very many cars there, but I worked my way up to second, and then I had a bad restart, but I'm just overall proud of myself for being
Oh,
in
absolutely.
second place.
Absolutely. Anytime that there's another car that you're competing against and you do well, you have to be proud of that, because it's competition regardless. So what is your goal racing-wise over the next, 2 years?
Honestly, my goal is just to make a name for myself, because in my future, I don't want it to be like working a boring job, like a 9 to 5.
You want racing as part of your future.
Mhm.
Okay.
I never want to quit.
I love that. Being 16 years old, you're kind of getting to that point where kind of decisions need to be made and kind of life choices, and I love that. So when we first met, there was an issue that you had, some physical things you had to kind of overcome, and we didn't touch upon it during our first interview. And I remember talking with Stacy and saying that I hope at some point you were comfortable enough to talk about what those are, because I think it could help other drivers. So we're going to get into that right now. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you do suffer from seizures, is that correct?
Yeah, I do.
How has that been a challenge as far as being a race car driver, having to overcome that?
Well, I have to pay attention to my medication, and also I have to sleep good, and my eat affects it, plus just every single thing that I do can affect it. And with racing, it's hard to manage it because it's always going to be a thought in my mind, but
So we have a lot in common, and I made this comment to Stacy during the interview. So I have a lot of physical limitations. I have to get through things that threaten my life on a daily basis. So I know what you're going through. I'm curious, what made you decide to want to talk now?
I think that it's important that a lot of other people in any sports or anything they feel like is holding them back, whether it's seizures or it's another medical condition, that it's not the end, and there is always a way to get through it. It might take time, but you can get through it if you really try.
So I come from I've done a lot of really awesome things, and people might even say brave things in my life. This is probably one of the bravest things I've ever seen anybody do, because when you talk about something that makes you vulnerable, as a race car driver, that's hard, because as a driver, you can't be vulnerable. You got to be tough. You got to be right. So this obviously affects your racing. What is the plan with your seizures for the rest of the season?
I won't be racing for the rest of the season, but the plan is to mess with my seizure meds, try to get more sleep, and hopefully be ready for next season.
So obviously seizures have changed your approach to racing. But what I'm impressed with is you and your family have kind of an imposed kind of timeline that you have to be seizure free before you get back in the race car. And that's something that you and your parents have come up with, not anybody else. Is that right?
Yeah.
What is that timeline?
So, to race, there's nothing in the rule book about seizures, about how long you have to go, but me and my parents agreed that 8 weeks is a good amount of time to be seizure free so that everyone else on the track and me are safe on the track.
And I love that. I love the fact that it's, you're taking yourself into consideration, but everyone else at the same time. So I'm looking at my notes because I was taking all kinds of notes to get ready for this interview. Was there ever times that you thought you would never be able to race?
There is a lot of times. When I started in quarter midgets, I was definitely really scared when I first started racing, but over time I got over it.
Just kind of work your way through it? That's pretty impressive, yeah. Now, is there a misconception that maybe somebody might have about somebody that is a race car driver and maybe suffers from seizures? Is there, are people, do people get afraid? Do they think you're not going to, be good behind the wheel? Is there any misconceptions that you would love to straighten up?
There is a lot of misconceptions. So usually when people find out about my seizures or just seizures or medical conditions in general, they think that it'll affect their driving or possibly watch out for me like I'm a hazard on the track. But in reality, when I'm on the track, I'm focusing and that all is behind me.
And you've never had an issue where you've been in the car and had... I think it's irresponsible for somebody to think that that's going to happen, especially with how you're handling it. I love the 8-week thing, and trying to keep all the other drivers safe, I think, is absolutely awesome. There's people out here that maybe are watching, either watching in the stands, watching you when you're driving, or watching this episode, and they might have some limitations that is stopping them from them chasing their dream. What advice would you give to somebody who, is afraid that letting their physical limitation limit their dreams? What advice would you give them?
Really, you have to think about what you want for your future, what you truly want. Even if you're nervous or you're scared about something that is going to happen, if you have confidence and you try, then usually you're able to get through it.
So you would think you would want any, especially young girls coming up who might have something, don't let that stop you. Figure it out and get after it, right?
Yeah.
Make your dreams come true, which you are still doing. Okay, so I appreciate you talking with us about it. I think it's going to be an inspiration for a lot of young drivers, not just girls, but boys too, that might be encountering something. Let's do a fun question, though, because I asked it when we were going over the questions. 16, I have a daughter that's 15. Lining up for a feature is stressful, but what about like a final exam? What is more stressful?
Like on a test?
Yeah, taking a test at school or lining up for a feature at the racetrack.
Honestly, I don't really worry about tests, but lining up for a track, like for a race, you never know what's going to happen in the race. You could crash, you could flip. You never know what's going to happen, and you're on the track and you're taking risks because it's what you love, and in the end, that's what makes you happy. So
I encourage anybody who saw our Clay Cup episode where we interviewed Jet. It is a great interview. I'm looking forward to seeing you coming back next year. Definitely wearing the 12J shirt as soon as you get it made.
We're working on it.
So I'll be the first one to get that on, and we'll wear it during an episode. But once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this and make the comment, and thank you for being brave about this. It's pretty awesome. So, all right, there we go. The 12J back next year, baby. Thanks so much for watching our latest creation from the stands, P&W. So you're probably wondering who's responsible for creating this podcast. Well, that would be Jimmy and Stacy. Who is the guy in front of the microphone all the time? Well, that would be Jimmy. Who's producing our episodes? Well, that will be Jimmy and Stacy. Who am I talking to on the social media side, and who's creating all that wonderful social media? Well, that would be Stacy. A special thanks goes out to Top Shelf Galaxy Productions, and of course, a special shout out to Ice by Stacy Media for all the great graphics and animations. So please like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you know when our latest hits the airwaves. You can find us across all social media platforms at From the Stands PNW. Once again, thank you so much for watching.